The Fiat Uno is a supermini car which was produced by the Italian manufacturer Fiat. The Uno was launched in 1983 and built in its homeland until 1995, with production still taking place in other countries for some years, with the final Uno built in Brazil in 2013. With approximately 8,800,000 built, it's the eighth most produced automobile platform in history, after the Volkswagen Beetle, Ford Model T, Lada Riva, 1965 a Euro 1970 grams B platform, 1981 a Euro 1997 grams J platform, 1961 a Euro 1964 grams B platform, and 1977 a Euro 1990 grams B platform. The Uno name was reintroduced in 2010 in South America for the Fiat Mini platform-based car built in Brazil. First Series. The Uno was launched in January 1983 to replace the aging Fiat 127, which itself had revolutionized the supermini market on its launch more than 10 years earlier. Designed by Giorgetto Giugiaro's Ital Design Company, its tall, square body utilizing a camtail achieved a low drag coefficient of 0.341 at much praise for airy interior space and fuel economy. It incorporated many packaging lessons learned from Giugiaro's 1978 Lancia Mega Gamma concept car but miniaturized. Its tall car/high seating packaging is imitated by every small car today. It reversed the trend for lower and lower built cars. It showed that not just low sleek cars could be aerodynamic, but small, roomy, boxy well-packaged cars could be too. United Kingdom sales began in June 1983, with more than 20,000 being sold in its first full year on sale and peaking at more than 40,000 sales in 1988. In 1984 it was voted European Car of the Year. Initially, the Uno was offered with the 0.9-litre OHV, 1.1-litre, and 1.3-litre 138 series SOHC petrol engines and transmissions carried over from the 127. The 1.3 diesel engine was launched a couple of months later. The Uno's badging was not by the commonly used measurement of engine size but by metric horsepower, 45, 55, 60, 70, or 75. The Uno was available as either a 3- or 5-door hatchback. It also featured ergonomic pod switchgear clusters each side of the main instrument binnacle, although indicators remained on a stalk. An unusual arrangement similar to that used by Citroën. The Uno had McPherson strut independent front suspension and twist beam rear suspension with telescopic dampers and coil springs. From 1985, the 1.0-litre SOHC fully integrated robotized engine power plant was offered. This was a lighter engine, built with fewer parts, and gave improved performance and economy. Turbo that is. In April 1985 the hot hatch version of the first series Uno a Euro the Uno Turbo that is a Euro was launched as a 3-door only derivative. Despite marketing claims that it was fitted with an engine specifically developed for turbocharging, the Turbo that is model actually used a Ritmo Strada-derived 1.3 146 series engine with Bosch multi-point fuel injection, Magneti Marelli electronic ignition and a water-cooled IHI turbocharger with an intercooler to reduce intake air temperatures. The resultant power plant was highly regarded and considered as more technologically advanced than many of its contemporaries. Engine capacity was initially stated as 1299 cc's, but this was revised early on in production to 1301 cc's. In both forms the engine offered 106 picoseconds, but owners report that the 1301 cc's version was notably more responsive and had greater torque than the earlier 1299 cc's unit. Cars built from 1985 to late 1987 were fitted with a Ritmo Strada-derived 5-speed gearbox. This was then replaced by a newly developed C510 5-speed gearbox, often referred to by owners as the Typo-style gearbox, featuring a more durable differential and improved gear change linkage. Ratios were unchanged between the two units. The Turbo that is offered significant performance improvement over standard Uno models and was capable of reaching 200 km per hour, thanks in part to the car's low 845 kg weight. Reliability was improved due to the reduction in maximum turbo boost pressure for mass production from 1.0 to 0.6 bar, but conversely, it allowed tuners to modify the engine relatively easily to run 1.0 bar boost pressure for even greater performance without significantly compromising reliability. Externally, the turbo that is models sported black plastic sill trims and arch extensions, plus a revised front bumper with fog lamps and inlet scoops to direct air to the oil cooler and intercooler. Decals were added along the side of the car, initially as TURBO in large outline letters but then later in stripe form with turbo that is cut into the rear quarter section and complementary stripes across the tailgate. This also deviated from the pressed steel tailgate fitted on non-turbo models, as it was manufactured from fiberglass and incorporated a high-level spoiler to improve looks and aerodynamic performance. All body glass benefited from a very light green tint. Suspension was lowered and uprated, 13 inches alloy wheels with Pirelli P6 tires were fitted and the brakes upgraded to vented discs on the front and solid discs on the rear to replace the drum units of the non-turbo models. Interior equipment was upgraded in the turbo that is model with sports seats, plush red carpet and an extended center console. Later models had red seat belts in place of earlier black versions. Options on the turbo that is model included polished chromodra wheels, electric windows, manual sunroof and a digital instrument panel, which used bar graphs in place of dial gauges for fuel level, coolant temperature, boost pressure, etc., and a numerical display of speed that, in the UK market, could be switched between mph and kph at the press of a button. Such units were rare. An option on later first series turbo that is models was called anti-skid, a simple form of ABS that only operated on the front wheels and only once per ignition cycle, meaning that if it was triggered during a journey it would not do so a second time until the ignition had been turned off and on again. Whilst it was an admirable attempt on Fiat's part at improving driver safety and reducing accidents, the anti-skid system was largely regarded as ineffective and unreliable. Diesel and Selectra models. In 1987, a 1.7-litre diesel engine 60DS version was launched together with the Uno Selectra continuously variable transmission automatic. The CVT transmission was a co-development with Dutch Van Dorn and Ford. Second series. First shown at the Frankfurt Motor Show in September 1989, the Uno received a thorough facelift. The bodywork at the nose was updated and a different tailgate was fitted, improving the drag coefficient to CD 0.30, and matching the corporate look of the then-new Fiat Tipo. The interior was also revised. The pod switchgear was replaced by stalks and an effort was made to stop the dashboard rattles of the Mark I. At this time, the old 1.1-litre engine was replaced by a new 5 version, and a new Fiat Tipo-derived 1.4-litre engine replaced the Ritmo Strada-derived 1.3-litre in both naturally aspirated and turbo versions. A 1.4-litre Uno turbo could reach a claimed 204 km/h, while the 1.0 version only managed 145 km/h depending on which transmission was fitted. The Uno turbo that is variant was also restyled, upgraded with a Garrett T2 turbine, Bosch LH Jetronic fuel injection and better aerodynamics. Uno production ceased in Italy in 1995, with sales throughout Western Europe stopping at the same time. A total of 6,032,911 units were built in Fiat's Italian factories. From 1994 to 2002, Uno was produced in Poland for Fiat Auto Poland. At first in Bielsko-Biała, and then from 2000 to 2002 in Tychy. Engines available were 3 petrol units, a Euro 0.9-litre from Seicento, 1.0 Fire, 1.4 and 1 naturally aspirated diesel unit of 1.7 litres. The Uno's replacement in Western Europe was the Fiat Punto, which was launched in late 1993. Engines petrol diesel Continuing global production. After Western European production and sales ceased, the Uno continued to be manufactured and sold in many other regions. Argentina. In Argentina, The three-door Fiat Uno was produced by Sevel Argentina S.A. from March 1989 to 2000, 179,767 units were built. Engine's motor type ranged from a 1049 cc's 52 picoseconds petrol 4 to a 1.6-litre, 87 picoseconds SCV/SCR version on top, with a 1.3-litre 45 picoseconds diesel engine also available. A specific saloon version with 4 doors was also produced from 1988 to 2000. Called Uno or Elba, 257,259 units of this version were built in Fiat's Car Cubed RDOBA plant. In addition to 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, and 1.6-litre petrol versions, the 1.3 diesel was also available. Brazil. The car was made in Brazil until December 2013 in 3 versions, Mil Economy, Uno Furga Poundo and Uno Furga Poundo. A total of 3.6 million Unos and Mils were built in Brazil during its 30-year production run. In the second half of the 1980s and the first half of the 1990s, the Uno was also available as a sedan, a pickup, and in a wagon version. These are called Promio, Furinno Pickup, and Elba respectively. The Brazilian Uno featured an independent, transverse leaf spring suspension at the rear, based on the tried and tested Brazilian Fiat 147. The clamshell design of the hood was also unique, since the Brazilian Uno kept the spare tire located in the engine bay, like the old Fiat 147, thus saving extra space for the luggage in the trunk. Originally sold with 1.05, 1.3 or 1.5-litre petrol engines, and a 1.6-litre was added to the lineup in 1989. The now redundant 1.5 was cancelled, but another 1.5 was introduced in 1991, this one derived from the 1.3. The Fiat Uno family, in Brazil, had a turbocharged 1.4-litre 4-in-line sports version, the Uno Turbo that is, available between 1994 and 1996. This car was sold as a normal production vehicle with 1,801 units produced. From 1990 to 2013, a 1.0-litre version was sold as the Fiat Mil, as a budget entry-level model, and received its most recent facelift for the 2004 model year. A fire engine was used since 2001. The 2005 Brazilian range has received a flex fuel system, enabling the car to use ethanol or gasoline as fuel, both pure or in any proportion mixture. Also, there is a version fitted for unpaved roads called Milway, which includes a more resilient suspension, larger wheels and side cladding. Despite the launch of the new Brazilian-built Uno in 2010, production of the Mil Economy and Milway continued until December 2013, only with a 1.0-litre engine. The Uno Furgavan and the Furinno Furga Poundo were available with a 1.25-litre fire engine. Engines, petrol. Safety. The Brazilian Fiat Uno has been rated as highly unsafe by Latin NCAP, scoring only 1 star for adult occupants and 2 stars for children. Unfortunately, this is the safety standard of low-cost Brazilian cars. India. After an abortive launch in 1996 when its CKD joint partner PAL delivered only 617 cars of the 30,000 ordered, Fiat started its venture as a 50-50 industrial joint venture between Fiat Group Automobiles SPA and Tata Motors Limited in January 1997. At present the company employs about 600 employees in its Ranjangan facility in the Pune district of Maharashtra. The Uno was initially a success in India, but then it faded badly due to poor dealer support. Morocco. The Fiat Uno was also assembled in Morocco until 2003 by Sumaka, and remains a popular choice of car for petty taxi use. South Africa. In South Africa, the Uno was assembled under license by Nissan from 1990 until 1998 and then by Fiat from 1998 up until 2006. Unos manufactured by Nissan had the word license underneath the Fiat badge on the rear end and models included the 1108cc's Fire, 1372cc's Pacer, Pacer SX and 1372cc's Turbo. Later on there were also a number of special editions produced which included the Beat, the Rio and for a short period the Cento. After Fiat re-entered the South African markets in 1998, Unos were rebadged as either the Mia or Tempo. They also featured the Fiat Centenary badge from that point on. By the time initial production of the Uno ended in 2006, only the Mia was available for sale. 110,000 units were produced between 1990 and 2002. In 2007, the Fiat Uno was redesigned and it re-entered the South African new car market. The car was now marketed and distributed by Fiat themselves. The model lineup includes the Uno Way, which is a higher suspension than the regular Uno and color-coded bumpers. It is based on the 1983 Euro 1990 design, and is powered by a 1.2-liter four-cylinder petrol engine. Philippines local manufacturer Francisco Motors, primarily known as a manufacturer of the jeepney, partnered with Fiat to create a joint venture called Italcar Pilipinas Incorporated in 1990. They assembled the Fiat Uno from 1990 to a Euro 2000 under the People's Car Program, which was an incentive by the government of President Corazon Aquino to stimulate car production in the Philippines. The joint venture hoped to compete with local stalwarts such as the Toyota Corolla and Nissan Sentra with the Uno in the taxicab market, which accounted for many sales. The Uno was not popular and production decreased yearly until the venture was terminated in 2000. Poland production in Fiat's factory in Poland ran until 2002. 173,382 units were built from June 1995 to October 2002. Pakistan the Fiat Uno is also assembled from complete knockdown kits in Pakistan by Raja Motor Company. Production started in 2001 and continued until 2004 when the manufacturing plant had to be closed down. Only the diesel variant of the car was made available under the 1.7D model. Although large-scale manufacturing of the car has ceased, stocks of CKD are still being assembled and sold at present. Sales performance United Kingdom the Uno was quite popular in Britain, with 190,000 Mark I examples sold from its launch there in June 1983 until the launch of the facelifted model in late 1989. New Zealand the Uno was a surprise hit for Fiat in New Zealand, where a combination of low prices and well-received styling saw over 1,000 Unos a year being imported from Italy right up until the late 1980s, with the 3,000th New Zealand Uno being celebrated in December 1988. Generally sold in 3- and 5-door hatchback form, a limited number of 4-Uno paint vans and 3-door station wagons a Euro badged as Fiat Penny a Euro were also sold. A number of Unos sold in New Zealand were built to British specifications, which included a mile-per-hour speedometer. Fiat Uno the Fiat Uno name was resurrected for Project Type 327, the Brazilian-built Novo Uno. The new Uno is engineered at Brazil and co-designed with Turin's Fiat Centro style, and is basically a more urban interpretation of the Fiat Panda style on a Fiat Palio. It is larger and roomier than the first, but smaller and cheaper than the second platform. The car has two options of engines, the 1.0 Fire Evo and the 1.4 Fire Evo, both able to use ethanol, gasoline or a mix of both fuels. It's being sold in several South American countries as well as Brazil, but it has yet to be confirmed whether this Uno will be sold in Europe. In December 2013, Fiat launched the new Uno-based 4Uno panel van, successor of the old 4Uno. In September 2014, Fiat unveiled a facelift for the Uno and introduced the start and stop system in the 1.4 Fire engine. References. External links: Fiat Uno history.